Hey guys, it's storming and raining outside with thunder. Maybe that's the best way to review this book. It is the 10th book in the Vampire Chronicles series, and it is Blood Canticle. A thunder is not for a good reason, by the way. It's not to set the mood for what this book is. It's the dark book of the series of where the Vampire Chronicles were going to end. And it was going to end with a thud, and the thud's name is Blood Canticle. So Mona, one of the Mayfair witches, or one of the relatives of the Mayfairs, is sick and is dying of a family disease. And she happens to be the girlfriend of Quinn, who is my favorite vampire from Blackwood Farm. And with her dying, she is made by Lestat into a vampire. That way, so she can still read minds with Quinn, since they are eternal lovers. Because in the Anne Rice series, if a maker makes a fledgling or makes a vampire, they cannot read each other's minds. And Lestat wants Quinn and Mona to be able to read each other's minds. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is they find out about the Taltos on an island are being tortured, and Lestat, Quinn, and Mona go off to the island to rescue the Taltos. It is a rough book to read, and it's not even 300 pages long. I hate to be the one to add my discontent of the series, but it is forgettable and definitely one of the low points of the series. It feels it's written more like an action movie, where it's those old Vietnam movies where they have to go into the enemy's camp and unlock the prisoner out of the jail cell and rescue him. It's that kind of thing with this story, and I couldn't believe when I read this the first time how bad it was. It's not the worst thing I've ever read, but it's probably the lowest point in this series, and that's saying something since it was going to be the last book of the series. I just hate having to say anything negative about Anne Rice, but especially since this book got so much hate. But it's just after so many years of all the history that all the other books gave, and all the characters that were there, this book had none of that. It kind of was like it was almost like an epilogue to Blackwood Farm. It almost felt that way because it had the same characters, and it was short. I mean, like I said, it was like 80 some pages long. It's a short read, because it gets, I hate to say it, but it feels kind of like she didn't have much there. I know that a lot of bad things were happening around the time, personally, for her during when this book was written. So, and she denies that it had anything to do with it. But for it to be so short, to be just there, maybe that's one thing, is that there's just, like I said, there's just not too much history or backstory. It's just, hey, the Mayfair witches, the Vampire Chronicles, and let's go rescue some Taltos. That's kind of what it felt like, and it was just not as deep. And that's my review for this. And like I said, I hate to do it because I know this book is a lot of flack, and Sally's not good. And I wish that this thunder and lightning that you may be able to hear was for vampire reasons and for better reasons, but sadly, that's the review for Blood Canticle. But hey, there's a silver lining in those clouds, because the next up was Prince Lestat years later, and I'll review that. And it was definitely a return to form. Much better story. I loved Prince Lestat and the following book, so we'll get to that. And that is my review for Blood Canticle, the Rambo of the Vampire Chronicles series, I guess you could say. And that's a shame too, because I love Quinn and Mona from Blackwood Farm. Anyway, it could be a reason why Quinn and Mona aren't really mentioned in the next two books because this was so negatively received. And Blackwood Farm was, like I said, back then it was not really a fan favorite either, and it just got worse. So anyway, that's my review, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.